Thompson Clay approach him from the parking lot of Dunkin Donuts. As they approach, after having, based on video surveillance footage, having gotten out of the same vehicle, they both approach him at the same time, at which Mr. Thompson Clay tells Mr. Gonzalez, stop. Mr. Gonzalez stops as Mr. Roman is attempting to circle around behind Mr. Gonzalez. Then after Mr. Thompson Clay has spoken with Mr. Gonzalez, he turns back to see Mr. Roman, at which point Mr. Roman says, what's good, and draws a firearm. This is captured on video surveillance from that Dunkin Donuts, Your Honor. As he draws that firearm, Mr. Gonzalez begins to backpedal, and Mr. Roman shoots him 4 times. Those shots range from chest shots, one in the stomach, a major spinal injury, and one through the arm. The results of those gunshot wounds left Mr. Gonzalez paralyzed from the T10 vertebrae down. Describe in detail how being shot on May 29th, 2015, on a beautiful sunny day at the Dunkin Donuts on Main Street in the South End, has left me paralyzed and a life of pain and despair and a daily struggle to survive. And this very day was the very last time that I would stand on my 2 feet. After I was shot, I was transported to Bay State, where I was fighting for my life. My life changed forever. That pain and suffering, the mental anguish that unfolded years after, have left me with a different zest for life. In these past 2 years, I had to endure 6 surgeries, 2 blood transfusions. My colon was removed due to an infection that, according to the medical team, if this removal was not performed, that the infection would spread to the rest of my body. Every second and minute counted. I'm surprised that I have lived to write about this and express the intent to kill me. This was done.
An incident occurred, the place, the location, the number of witnesses. Mr. Roman is a symptom of systemic issues rather than the cause of social ills. As referenced in my memorandum, Mr. Roman grew up with his father as primary caregiver, and unfortunately his father had his own issues with the law. His father spent his own time incarcerated.
But there's no question that you gunned Mr. Gonzalez down in cold blood on a beautiful day outside of Dunkin Donuts in downtown Springfield, Massachusetts. The reasons why you did that, in my mind, only exacerbate the facts of this case. That this was a matter of gang violence, candidly, sir, is not terribly important to me, because at the end of the day, Mr. Gonzalez is a human being. He's no more deserving of what you did to him than, or less deserving than anyone else. I understand and respect that you have lost your 20s as your attorney has represented. Mr. Gonzalez has nearly lost his life, and in many respects, his life will be an absolute living hell, not just by virtue of the permanent disability that you rendered to him. I don't think anyone in this room for a brief moment could begin to imagine the pain and the suffering that he goes through, but the mental anguish that he suffers, both as a result of his physical injuries, as well as his concern that he will be the victim of further gang violence. And I also take into consideration the impact this has had upon his family.